Right, Garen, on to the Currie Cup. Final round before the playoffs. Let's just have a look at some of these returning Springboks. Well, the uncontracted ones at least. So Warren Whiteley back for the Lions. The Cheetahs have got Opa, Trevor Nyakani, Joop de Jager. Western Province looks like a complete B-string side. Reinach back for the Sharks. Pollard's on the bench for the Bulls. So it really makes for a spectacle.
Yeah, interesting final run, like you say. Obviously now we've got teams looking to consolidate their positions in the log, whether they're going to get home semi-finals or have to travel away for the semi-finals. But there are 20 contracted Springboks. Sorry ruled that they were ineligible for this round. But the rest of them have been allowed back. Certain teams obviously score more than other teams. Like you mentioned, the Cheetahs, they've got 3 Springboks back, all in the pack. I don't think it's going to make much difference in their match because they're up against the Lions, and even if they win, they're not guaranteed making the semi-finals. Whereas the Lions have a lot to play for. They're playing for that second spot in the log. They want the home semi-final. They want to pip the Sharks because they're going to play the Sharks no matter what. It's just really a case of whether it's in Johannesburg or in Durban. Obviously, from a Lions point of view, they want the home semi-final revenue for Ellis Park. So they're going to go all out to beat the Cheetahs. Like you said, the Lions have got Warren Whiteley back, inspirational captain. He's sort of been in and out of the Lions, as depending on whether Heineke Meijers wanted him for rugby championships in the Springbok squad. So the Lions will be happy to have him back. Whereas the Cheetahs, they've rushed back all the Springboks that they've been allowed to play. So interesting match that's the early kickoff on Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff. I still think the Lions at home will be too strong for the Cheetahs. I think it could even blow out a little bit to like 10, 14 point victory for them. But they're gonna, they don't know what the Sharks are going to do in the latter match against Western Province. So they have to win. They're one of the teams that really have to win this weekend. We'll talk later about other teams that don't really need to win. But in that match, I'm going for the Lions to win at home. As you mentioned correctly, the Western Province, they've earned the right to finish top of the log, therefore host a home semi-final. If they win that semi-final, then they get to host the final. They've taken the decision to rest pretty much all their key players. So they've made 11 changes. You look at the team, you almost don't recognize many of the players. But I was at Western Province this week and I chatted to a few of the guys there, and they correctly say that Alistair Coetzee is said to this B-string team, you aren't B-stringers, but show me what you can do and you'll be rewarded perhaps with a Currie Cup semi-final starting spot. So they've got a lot to play for, even though on paper I don't think they're going to be strong enough to beat the Sharks. The Sharks, like you said, Kobus Reinach, he came on for 20 fantastic minutes in the last Springboks victory over the All Blacks. He's been rushed back to the Sharks starting lineup. They've actually got a couple of Western Province old boys, Tonderai Shavanga, Lana Cornier at Flyff as well. So interesting little matchups there. But I think the Sharks heading down to Newlands. You must remember last year's Currie Cup final was at Newlands. The Sharks beat Western Province there. This is obviously not a final. They still might meet in the final. But I think the Sharks are going to be too strong for Western Province, even though the Province will still finish top of the log no matter what happens. The Sharks, they're either going to be playing for that second spot if the Lions have lost to the Cheetahs earlier, or they're going to finish third no matter what happens. But from a pride point of view, I think the Sharks will be a little bit too strong for Western Province at Newlands.
Tonight, Kings versus Pumas, and then obviously the first game tomorrow, Lions Cheetahs. The Pumas and the Cheetahs, I think, still have a mathematical chance of sneaking into fourth spot. They
do. Basically, just to quickly sum up what needs to happen there, the Pumas, if they beat the EP Kings, which again I expect them to do, the EP Kings are going to finish 0-10 if my prediction is correct, which is not ideal from the EP Kings. Poor Carlos Spencer's been through again 3 or 4 captains this season, can't really settle on a starting 15. So bad times down in PE. But I think the Pumas, after their fast start to the season, they've sort of fallen off the boil a little bit. But I think they'll be too good for the Kings. They will, with victory, jump ahead of the Bulls, who are currently in 4th. So if the season ended after tonight, the Pumas would make it. Then we've got the Lions Free State Cheetahs match. If the Cheetahs do win, they'll jump ahead of then the Pumas and knock them out of the playoff contention. But the final match is, and that's the one that's going to decide the 4th spot, is the Bulls against the Griquas team. And at Loftus, which you can't really see the Bulls losing. So I think it's not really going to matter what happens in those earlier matches. The Bulls are still going to be too strong. They've got a lot to play for. They're certainly playing a lot better than they did earlier in the season. Again, like you said, Handré Pollard, He's been named on the bench. Frans Ludiker has resisted the temptation to rush him into the starting number 10 jersey, but I'm pretty sure he's going to come on at least at half-time, get some Currie Cup sort of for match time under his belt, because he's certainly going to be playing in the playoffs if they make it. So he's coming off a high, obviously doing fantastic things for the Springboks in the Rugby Championship. So I think the Bulls sort of want to rest him a little bit, but they'd still like to see what he can do for them. But they should then reclaim the 4th spot, which they currently own, which will mean then in the semi-finals they travel down to Newlands for a blockbuster North-South derby semi-final. Really can't wait for that game. But a couple of things have to fall in place for them not to make it. But I'm pretty sure they're going to when all is said and done.
Just on that note, Garen, on a final question. This contracted Springboks situation is interesting because then you've got a guy like Pollard, who was a star during the Rugby Championship, back for the Bulls, and then JJ Engelbrecht, not allowed to play because he's
absolutely
got to go train in Stellenbosch.
Quite a bizarre situation, I mean, Saru probably correctly said that their contracted Springboks shouldn't play because they're the ones that have played the most. But then when you look at who's in that contracted list of 20 players, it raises your eyebrow why players like JJ Engelbrecht, Damien Delenda, who have pretty much been holding tackle bags at practice for the Springboks, haven't had any game time. Surely they should be playing in these matches, even if they do get hurt. Heineke May doesn't really lose anything because he hasn't picked them. So I think they've missed a beat a little bit there, not allowing Delende to play, not allowing JJ Engelbrecht to play. Obviously Pollard is a slightly different situation because heading into the Rugby Championships, Mornestan was the man. Andre Pollard wasn't expected to do anything. Sure, Heineke made the change, went with him, and he's performed fantastically well. I'm pretty sure there's a contract lying ahead for him, just not at the moment. So if the situation arises next season, I'm sure he'll be one of the contracted Springboks that will have to sit out. But it is a little bit bizarre that he's allowed to play, whereas like those players you mentioned aren't getting any game time this week. They're heading off to a training camp in a couple of weeks at Stellenbosch, probably holding more tackle bags, unfortunately. They're going to play themselves out of form, and a couple of players that are really putting up their hands at Currie Cup level are sort of like jumping ahead of them in the form books, in the pecking order. So it's not ideal. I don't know why we need 20 contracted Springboks. It doesn't seem like we need to contract that many. But it's what's been done. You can't take away a contract. They haven't done anything wrong because they haven't played. So it's that catch-22 situation. But it would be fantastic to see those sort of players, and there are a couple of others as well that to get them playing Currie Cup rugby. Finding some more form. So I think we missed a little bit of a beat there.
Okay. And finally, if viewers want to interact with Sport 24, if they're at the games, etc., what do they need to do?
Yeah, the easiest way, jump onto sport24.co.za. If you've got any pictures from any of the matches this weekend, please send them through to mysport@sport24.co.za. We'll include them in our gallery on Monday morning.